What happens when one of Hollywood's most outspoken actresses walks onto the set of America's most unpredictable talk show and refuses to stay silent when the tension turns personal? Before we dive into this explosive moment, make sure to subscribe to the Echo View, smash that like button, and drop a comment below if you love celebrity drama that nobody saw coming. Because this confrontation between Jennifer Lawrence and Whoopi Goldberg left the entire studio frozen in disbelief. The lights inside the studio glowed brighter than usual that morning, reflecting off polished floors and coffee mugs scattered across the famous curved desk of The View. The audience had arrived expecting another entertaining celebrity interview. Producers rushed quietly behind the cameras. Makeup artists stepped aside. Assistants whispered into headsets. Everything looked normal. But backstage, something already felt different. Jennifer Lawrence stood near the curtain entrance in a dark tailored blazer, her expression calm on the surface but tense underneath. Usually, she entered interviews laughing, joking with crew members, making everyone around her comfortable within seconds. But today, she barely smiled. One producer approached carefully. 5 minutes, Jennifer. She nodded once. Across the hallway, the voices from the live panel floated through the monitors. Whoopi Goldberg was already deep into a heated conversation with the co-hosts. Sunny Hostin leaned forward passionately. Behar rolled her eyes dramatically. The crowd laughed. Jennifer listened quietly. Then she heard her own name. And sometimes celebrities, Whoopi said casually while sipping from her mug, pretend they're relatable while living in mansions bigger than hotels. The audience chuckled lightly. Joy smirked. Are we talking about Jennifer Lawrence again? A louder wave of laughter followed. Backstage, Jennifer's jaw tightened. Sunny added, I mean, she says she hates fame, but somehow she's always in the headlines. The producer beside Jennifer shifted nervously. They're just warming up the audience, he muttered. But Jennifer kept staring at the monitor. Whoopi leaned back in her chair. That's Hollywood. Everybody wants sympathy while cashing million-dollar checks. Another round of applause. Something in Jennifer's expression changed. Not anger. Disappointment. The stage manager suddenly appeared. We're live in 30 seconds. Jennifer inhaled slowly and adjusted her sleeves. The applause sign flashed red. Music blasted through the studio speakers. The audience erupted with excitement as the announcer introduced her name. And please welcome Academy Award-winning actress Jennifer Lawrence. The curtain opened. Jennifer stepped onto the stage with a practiced smile, waving gracefully while cameras zoomed in. The audience cheered wildly. Some stood to clap. Whoopi rose from her chair with a polite smile, extending a hand. But the energy between them felt strangely cold. Jennifer sat down carefully beside the hosts. Jennifer Lawrence, everybody, Whoopi said. Good to have you here. Thanks for having me, Jennifer replied, smiling just enough for television. At first, everything followed the normal rhythm of daytime TV. They discussed Jennifer's upcoming film. She joked about terrible auditions from her early career. The audience laughed when she described accidentally falling down a staircase during rehearsals. For a few minutes, the tension disappeared. Then Behar leaned forward. So Jennifer, she said casually, do you ever get tired of being called Hollywood's relatable millionaire? The audience laughed again. Jennifer smiled politely. I think people just connect with honesty. Whoopi tilted her head slightly. But is it honesty or branding? The room shifted instantly. Jennifer blinked once. What do you mean? Whoopi folded her hands calmly. I mean, sometimes celebrities build entire careers pretending they're ordinary people while living lives nobody else can relate to. The crowd quieted. Jennifer gave a restrained laugh. I don't think I've ever pretended to be ordinary. Sunny jumped in. But you do talk a lot about wanting privacy while also staying very public. Jennifer turned toward her. That's kind of the job, though. But isn't it selective? Sunny asked. You want attention for projects, but push back when criticism comes. Jennifer's smile slowly faded. The cameras zoomed closer. You know, Jennifer said carefully, there's a difference between promoting work and having strangers decide who you are as a person. Whoopi crossed her arms. Comes with the territory. Jennifer looked directly at her now. I understand that, she replied. But that doesn't make it healthy. A few audience members applauded softly. Whoopi noticed immediately. Well, she said with a shrug, people working 2 jobs probably don't feel sorry for movie stars. The applause stopped. Jennifer stared at the table for a moment before responding. I didn't ask anybody to feel sorry for me. The tension became impossible to ignore. Even Joy looked uncomfortable now. Jennifer continued, her voice calmer than anyone expected. But it's interesting hearing people reduce someone's life to money like that solves everything. Whoopi leaned back. Money solves a lot. Not pressure, Jennifer shot back quietly. The audience reacted with scattered gasps. Sunny quickly tried to lighten the tone. I think what Whoopi means is. No, I know exactly what she means, Jennifer interrupted gently, still looking at Whoopi. The studio became painfully silent. For the first time all morning, Whoopi's expression hardened. You're taking this personally. Jennifer let out a breath. Because it is personal. The audience shifted in their seats. Jennifer continued speaking, more emotionally now. You know what's exhausting? Walking into rooms where people already decided you're fake before you even open your mouth. Whoopi responded instantly. Welcome to being famous. Jennifer nodded slowly. And maybe that's exactly the problem. A stunned murmur moved across the crowd. Backstage crew members exchanged nervous glances. One producer whispered into a headset, "This is going off script." Jennifer turned toward the audience now, almost as if she forgot the cameras existed. People think celebrities stop being human once they become successful, she said. Like suddenly you're not allowed to feel overwhelmed or hurt because your bank account changed. Several audience members applauded louder this time. Whoopi's eyes narrowed slightly. But nobody forced you into fame, she replied. Jennifer looked back at her immediately. And nobody should be punished for succeeding either. The audience exploded into mixed reactions, some clapping, some gasping. Behar looked completely stunned. Sunny attempted another nervous laugh. Okay, this got serious fast. But neither Jennifer nor Whoopi smiled. The atmosphere had transformed from daytime television into something raw and dangerously real. Whoopi leaned forward slowly. Jennifer, people critique public figures. That's reality. Jennifer answered without hesitation. Critique is fine. Condescension isn't. A loud, "Oh" rippled through the audience. One camera operator visibly turned to another in shock. Whoopi sat back silently for a second, clearly surprised Jennifer had pushed back so directly on live television. Then she spoke again, colder this time. You think anybody here is trying to disrespect you? Jennifer paused, then quietly said, I think sometimes people forget kindness when the cameras are rolling. The studio froze. Even the audience stopped reacting now, because suddenly this no longer felt like celebrity gossip. It felt real. Whoopi stared at Jennifer across the desk, unreadable. And for the first time in years on live television, Whoopi Goldberg had absolutely no immediate comeback. The silence hanging over the studio felt heavier than the cameras themselves. Nobody moved. Not the audience. Not the producers behind the glass. Not even the co-hosts who normally jumped into tense moments with jokes or interruptions. The energy inside the room had changed so suddenly that it almost felt unreal. Jennifer Lawrence sat perfectly still, her hands folded tightly together in her lap. But her eyes never left Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi, meanwhile, leaned back slowly in her chair, studying Jennifer with the kind of expression that made viewers nervous at home. She had spent decades controlling conversations, shutting down chaos before it spiraled. But this time, the usual rhythm of the view wasn't working. The audience could feel it. Behar cleared her throat awkwardly. Well, this is live television. A few uncomfortable laughs scattered through the room. Jennifer finally looked away from Whoopi and forced a small smile. Sorry, I didn't come here planning to argue. Whoopi answered instantly. Nobody said you were arguing, but the sharpness in her voice said otherwise. Sunny Hostin tried stepping in gently. I think there's just a bigger conversation happening here about celebrity culture and public expectations. Jennifer nodded slowly. Exactly. Whoopi tilted her head. Then let's have the conversation. The audience reacted immediately. Some clapped nervously. Others leaned forward in anticipation. Jennifer shifted in her seat. Okay. Whoopi folded her hands together on the desk. You say celebrities are treated unfairly, but people watching at home are struggling every day. Rent, jobs, family problems, real-life pressure. So when a millionaire celebrity talks about how difficult fame is, some viewers roll their eyes. Jennifer listened carefully. Then she answered in a calm, measured tone. I understand why they would. That response surprised everyone. Even Whoopi blinked slightly. Jennifer continued. But the issue is that people think suffering has to be a competition. The audience grew quiet again. You can acknowledge someone else's struggles without dismissing another person's mental or emotional reality. Sunny nodded slowly. That's fair. Whoopi didn't respond. Jennifer looked toward the audience again, speaking more openly now. There were years where I couldn't walk outside without panic, she admitted. Years where every mistake became headlines. Every expression got analyzed. Every interview turned into memes. A few audience members murmured sympathetically. But people online kept saying, she's rich, she'll survive. Jennifer laughed bitterly. And maybe I did survive. But surviving and being okay aren't the same thing. That line hit the room hard. Even Behar stopped smirking. Whoopi rested her chin against her hand. You think the media created that pressure? Jennifer looked directly at her. I think shows like this contribute to it sometimes. The audience gasped loudly. Backstage, one producer nearly dropped his headset. Sunny's eyes widened immediately. Okay. Whoopi stayed strangely calm. You're saying we attack people? Jennifer hesitated for half a second, then nodded. Sometimes, yes. The crowd erupted into nervous chatter. Joy jumped in defensively. Hold on now. We discuss public behavior. That's literally the format of the show. Jennifer turned toward her respectfully. Discussing behavior is different than mocking people personally. Joy opened her mouth to reply, but Jennifer kept going. And honestly, sometimes it feels like celebrities become easy targets because audiences enjoy watching famous people get humbled. The audience reacted again, louder this time. Some applauded. Others looked visibly uncomfortable. Whoopi's expression darkened slightly. You think we're bullies? Jennifer immediately shook her head. No, I think sometimes the line gets blurry. The tension tightened again. Whoopi leaned forward. Jennifer, people criticize politicians, athletes, actors, everybody. Nobody's exempt. I agree, Jennifer replied. Then what's the issue? Jennifer's voice softened. The issue is forgetting there's a human being sitting behind the headline. For a brief moment, nobody spoke. The room became almost eerily quiet. And then Whoopi gave a short laugh. Not a happy one. You know what I think, she said. Jennifer waited. I think Hollywood has gotten too sensitive. A loud mix of applause and groans echoed across the studio. Jennifer stared at Whoopi for a second, almost stunned. Then she smiled faintly. There it is. Whoopi raised an eyebrow. There what is? That attitude, Jennifer replied. The idea that emotional honesty equals weakness. Sunny shifted uncomfortably in her seat again. Whoopi crossed her arms. No, I think resilience matters. Jennifer nodded immediately. Of course it does. Then why does every uncomfortable conversation become trauma now? The audience reacted with another collective gasp. Jennifer's expression changed instantly. Not anger this time. Hurt. Real hurt. And suddenly the cameras caught it. Her eyes glistened slightly under the bright studio lights. She looked down for a second before speaking. Because some experiences actually are traumatic. The audience fell silent again. Whoopi didn't move. Jennifer continued quietly. You know, everybody loves the funny version of me. The clumsy interviews. The awkward jokes. The memes. She forced a tiny smile. People think because I laugh publicly, everything's easy privately. The studio remained frozen. But there were moments where I felt completely alone in this industry. Behar's expression softened slightly. Jennifer looked at the desk while speaking now, almost lost in memory. I've sat in hotel rooms reading thousands of strangers tearing apart my body, my personality, my intelligence, she paused. I've had panic attacks before red carpets. A woman in the audience covered her mouth emotionally. And the scariest part, Jennifer whispered, is eventually you stop knowing who you are without public opinion. That line landed like a punch. Even Whoopi looked caught off guard now. For the first time since the interview began, her expression lost some of its edge. But before the moment could settle, one audience member suddenly shouted loudly from the crowd. Then quit Hollywood. The studio exploded into chaos. Gasps erupted everywhere. Producers immediately signaled security. Behar looked horrified. Oh my God! Sunny turned toward the audience in disbelief. Jennifer froze completely. And then every camera swung toward Whoopi Goldberg. Because everyone was waiting to see what she would do. Whoopi stared out into the audience for a long moment. Then slowly turned back toward Jennifer. And instead of defending her immediately, she asked a question that made the entire room even more uncomfortable. If fame hurts that much, Whoopi said carefully, why stay in it? The silence afterward felt unbearable. Jennifer looked genuinely shocked. Not because of the question itself, but because of how personal it suddenly became. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out at first. The audience sat frozen. Some viewers at home would later say this was the exact moment the interview crossed a line. Jennifer finally inhaled shakily. Then she answered in a voice barely above a whisper. Because acting saved my life before fame ever complicated it. The room fell completely silent again. And for the first time all morning, Whoopi Goldberg had no choice but to truly listen. The atmosphere inside the studio no longer resembled a daytime talk show. It felt like a pressure cooker seconds away from exploding. Nobody in the audience shifted anymore. Even the camera operators moved more carefully, as if one wrong sound might shatter the fragile tension hanging between Jennifer Lawrence and Whoopi Goldberg. Jennifer sat motionless after her last sentence. Because acting saved my life before fame ever complicated it. The words lingered heavily in the room. Whoopi studied her quietly now, no longer interrupting, no longer dismissive. For the first time since the interview began, her expression showed uncertainty. Sunny Hostin finally spoke softly. What do you mean by that? Jennifer swallowed hard before answering. When I was younger, acting was the only place I felt understood, she admitted. I grew up feeling awkward all the time. Anxious. Out of place. But when I performed, suddenly I could breathe. The audience listened in complete silence. Jennifer gave a faint, emotional laugh. I know that sounds dramatic. No, Sunny replied gently. It doesn't. Jennifer nodded appreciatively. There's this idea that celebrities wake up confident and perfect every day, she continued. But most actors start because they're searching for something emotionally. Validation. Escape. Identity. Connection. Whoopi finally leaned forward again. And you think the industry destroys that? Jennifer looked at her carefully. I think fame can. The audience remained locked in. Jennifer's voice grew steadier now, more honest with every sentence. At first, success feels incredible. People love your work. Doors open everywhere. Everyone tells you how lucky you are. She paused. Then one day you realize people stopped seeing you as a person and started seeing you as content. That line triggered loud murmurs across the studio. Joy Behar folded her arms quietly, clearly listening differently now. Jennifer continued. You become a headline before you become human. Every mistake becomes entertainment. Every relationship becomes gossip. Every bad day becomes proof you're secretly awful. Whoopi responded carefully this time. But that attention is also why celebrities become powerful. Jennifer nodded immediately. I know. I'm grateful for my career. Then where's the line? Jennifer looked down briefly before answering. The line is when people stop caring whether public humiliation affects you psychologically. A long silence followed, and then Whoopi asked the question nobody expected. Did it affect you psychologically? Jennifer looked up slowly. Her eyes shimmered under the studio lights again. Yes. The audience collectively exhaled. Jennifer sat back slightly, almost as if admitting that out loud cost her energy. There were years where I became terrified of public spaces, she confessed. I'd walk into restaurants already expecting someone to record me secretly. I stopped trusting strangers. I stopped trusting interviews. Joy frowned slightly. Interviews. Jennifer gave a humorless smile. You'd be surprised how many people invite you somewhere, just hoping you'll break down on camera. That sentence hit hard. Very hard. Because suddenly everyone in the room understood what she might be implying. The camera briefly caught Whoopi's expression tightening. Sunny noticed it too. Jennifer continued before anyone could interrupt. There's pressure to always perform even when you're emotionally exhausted. If you're too quiet, people say you're rude. If you're emotional, people call you unstable. If you defend yourself, you're arrogant. The audience applauded loudly. Whoopi remained silent. Jennifer turned toward her directly now. And honestly, sometimes women in Hollywood get punished no matter what they do. That sparked immediate applause from parts of the crowd. Sunny nodded strongly. That's true. Whoopi finally spoke again. You think men have it easier? Jennifer answered instantly. I think women get analyzed differently. Joy gave a reluctant shrug. She's not wrong. Jennifer looked back at the audience. A male actor can be complicated or intense. A woman becomes difficult almost overnight. The crowd clapped again. But then Whoopi suddenly interrupted. You know what I hear, though? Jennifer paused. I hear someone blaming fame for everything painful in life. The tension snapped back instantly. Jennifer's expression hardened. That's not what I said. Whoopi raised a hand calmly. No, but it's close. The audience shifted nervously again. Whoopi leaned forward further now, her voice lower and more serious. Pain exists everywhere, Jennifer. Not just Hollywood. Most people don't get millions of dollars while dealing with it. Jennifer stared at her in disbelief for a second. Then she spoke with a firmness that surprised everyone. Why does money keep getting used to invalidate emotions? The audience exploded into applause. Whoopi answered immediately. Because perspective matters. And empathy matters too, Jennifer fired back. Another wave of reactions swept through the studio. Joy Behar rubbed her forehead. Okay, wow. But Jennifer wasn't backing down anymore. You keep bringing up money like financial success cancels mental health, she said. That mindset is exactly why so many people suffer silently. Whoopi's face hardened again. No, she replied sharply. What I'm saying is public figures need accountability too. Jennifer nodded. Absolutely. Then stop acting like criticism is cruelty. Jennifer leaned forward now for the first time all interview. I never said criticism was cruelty. Her voice rose slightly. I said constant public dehumanization changes people. Dead silence. Jennifer's breathing became visibly heavier now. The cameras caught every second. You know what the craziest part is? She continued emotionally. People don't even realize when they're enjoying someone else falling apart. Nobody moved. Jennifer's voice cracked slightly. There are entire internet communities built around waiting for celebrities to fail mentally. The audience grew quieter than ever. And when someone finally breaks, Jennifer whispered, everyone suddenly pretends they care. That line shook the room. Even Whoopi looked affected now. Sunny leaned in softly. Jennifer. But Jennifer kept going. No, seriously, she said, emotion spilling out now. People laugh at celebrities having breakdowns until someone dies. Then suddenly every headline says, we need to protect mental health. The audience erupted into applause so loud it nearly drowned out the stage microphones. Several people stood. Whoopi remained seated, but her expression had completely changed now. The confidence from earlier was fading beneath something more complicated. Reflection, regret, or maybe realization. Jennifer wiped quickly beneath one eye, clearly frustrated with herself for becoming emotional on live television. I didn't even plan to say any of this today, she admitted quietly. Joy answered softly this time. I don't think anybody planned for this. A nervous laugh broke through the crowd. For the first time in nearly 20 minutes, the tension eased slightly. But then Whoopi spoke again, and the room froze all over. You think this show dehumanized you today? Jennifer looked at her carefully. The question felt massive now. Dangerous. Because everybody knew the answer mattered. Jennifer inhaled slowly, then looked directly at Whoopi Goldberg and said, I think this show gave me a chance to prove I'm still human. The audience exploded into stunned applause. But before anyone could recover, one producer suddenly rushed onto the edge of the stage, whispering urgently to the hosts during the commercial cue. Something was wrong backstage. Very wrong. And Jennifer noticed it immediately. The applause still echoed through the studio when the producer leaned down beside Whoopi Goldberg, whispering frantically into her ear. Whoopi's expression changed instantly. Not annoyance. Concern. Real concern. Joy Behar looked confused. Sunny Hostin adjusted her microphone nervously, while another producer appeared near the side curtain, signaling toward the control room. The audience sensed the sudden shift immediately. Murmurs spread across the studio like wildfire. Jennifer Lawrence watched carefully from her seat. What happened? She asked quietly. Nobody answered at first. Then Whoopi looked toward her. They're saying clips from this interview are already exploding online. The audience reacted loudly. Phones immediately started appearing throughout the crowd despite studio rules. One staff member rushed down the aisle asking people to put devices away, but it was too late. The tension from the interview had already escaped the studio walls and spread across social media in real time. Jennifer looked stunned. Sunny turned toward one of the producers. Already, the producer nodded anxiously. Millions of views. Joy let out a disbelieving laugh. We're still on air. The control room screens behind the audience flashed silently with incoming headlines and live reactions. Staff members whispered urgently into headsets while camera operators waited for instructions. But nobody wanted to cut away, because what started as a celebrity interview had transformed into something much bigger. Something painfully human. Whoopi looked back at Jennifer, quieter now than she had been all morning. You know, she admitted slowly, this conversation probably hit a nerve because a lot of people recognize pieces of themselves in it. Jennifer said nothing. Whoopi continued carefully. Not the fame part, the judgment part. The room fell silent again. For regular people, it's co-workers. Family. The internet. Everybody feels watched now. Jennifer nodded slowly. That's exactly what I meant. And suddenly, for the first time during the entire interview, the tension between them softened. Not completely, but enough. Whoopi leaned back in her chair with a long exhale. I still believe public figures need thick skin. Jennifer gave a small smile. And I still believe thick skin can hide real damage. A few audience members applauded softly. Whoopi stared at her for a moment before unexpectedly smiling back. That's probably true. The audience erupted. Not because the argument was over, but because nobody expected either woman to bend even slightly. Joy Behar laughed in relief. Well, thank God. I thought we were about to witness the end of daytime television. The crowd burst into nervous laughter. Even Jennifer laughed quietly now, wiping beneath her eyes again. Sunny smiled warmly. This might be the most honest conversation we've had on this show in years. Whoopi nodded slowly. And probably the most uncomfortable. The audience clapped louder. But backstage, the chaos was only getting worse. Producers rushed across hallways while assistants monitored social media feeds exploding by the second. Clips titled Jennifer Lawrence Shuts Down Whoopi Goldberg and The View Interview Turns Hostile Live were already dominating trending pages. Some viewers praised Jennifer for defending mental health and celebrity humanity. Others accused her of sounding privileged and out of touch. Meanwhile, hashtags connected to The View climbed rapidly across every major platform. Inside the studio, however, the energy had become strangely emotional. Whoopi looked toward Jennifer again. You know what surprised me today, she admitted. Jennifer tilted her head slightly. You didn't come in angry. Jennifer smiled faintly. I became angry. The audience laughed softly. Whoopi nodded honestly. Fair enough. Then Jennifer said something that completely changed the room one final time. I think I became emotional because I grew up respecting you. The audience reacted immediately. Whoopi looked genuinely caught off guard. Jennifer continued carefully. You were always someone who spoke honestly, fearlessly. And I guess hearing certain comments from someone you admire hits differently. For the first time all interview, Whoopi Goldberg looked speechless. The crowd went completely silent, because suddenly the argument no longer felt like two celebrities clashing for attention. It felt personal, human. Whoopi's expression softened deeply now. Well, she said quietly, sometimes honesty lands harder than intended. Jennifer nodded. I know that too. A long silence followed. Not awkward this time. Reflective. The audience slowly began clapping again, softer than before, almost emotional. Some people stood. Others wiped tears from their faces. Even crew members backstage appeared stunned by how raw the conversation had become. Then the producers signaled they had less than 2 minutes remaining live on air. Whoopi glanced toward the camera. You know, she said slowly, people at home are probably taking sides right now. Jennifer laughed lightly. Definitely. But maybe they shouldn't. Jennifer looked at her curiously. Whoopi continued. Maybe the bigger issue is that everybody's exhausted from feeling judged all the time. That line hit the audience hard. Jennifer nodded immediately. Exactly. Sunny leaned in with a smile. Look at this. We accidentally solved society. The audience laughed loudly again. Joy pointed dramatically toward Jennifer. Next time, though, can we just discuss movies? My blood pressure can't handle this. Even Whoopi laughed at that. The tension had finally broken. But outside the studio, the world was still exploding. By the time the episode ended, entertainment blogs, reaction channels, and celebrity commentators were already dissecting every second of the confrontation. Some called Jennifer brave. Others called her overly sensitive. Think pieces flooded the internet within hours. But one clip spread faster than all the others combined. Jennifer saying, I think this show gave me a chance to prove I'm still human. Millions watched it, then millions more. Because beneath the celebrity drama, the shouting, the awkward silences, and the viral tension, people recognized something painfully familiar. The fear of being misunderstood. The exhaustion of constantly defending yourself. The need to feel seen beyond assumptions. As the credits rolled inside the studio, Jennifer stood up from her chair. For one brief second, she and Whoopi looked at each other uncertainly. Then Whoopi extended her hand. Jennifer looked at it, and instead of shaking it formally, she hugged her. The audience erupted into thunderous applause. Not because anyone had won, but because two strong personalities had survived an uncomfortable truth without pretending it never happened. And somehow, that felt rarer than any celebrity scandal. Jennifer waved goodbye to the crowd before disappearing backstage. Whoopi watched her leave for a moment before quietly shaking her head with a smile. "Live television," she muttered. Joy laughed. "You're never surviving Twitter after this." The screen faded slowly to black. But online, the debate continued for days. Was Jennifer Lawrence right? Was Whoopi Goldberg too harsh? Or had both women exposed something deeper about modern culture and public judgment? Now we want to hear from you. Do you think Jennifer was justified for pushing back? Or do you agree with Whoopi that fame comes with the territory? Drop your opinion in the comments below, because this conversation is far from over. And if you love explosive celebrity drama, emotional confrontations, and behind-the-scenes stories that feel bigger than Hollywood itself, make sure you subscribe to the Echo View, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next unforgettable moment.